Hey guys, Colin here at the Deep Tissue Massage Center to talk to you about the building blocks of good posture. Now, I get people from all different walks of life that have worked with different educators, personal trainers, physical therapists that have been taught the right way to stand or good posture. What I see more often than not, though, are people that are using a lot of musculature to try and pull their shoulders back and down and stick their chest out forward and all this sort of thing. Now, there's a couple of problems with this. The first is that anytime you're using muscular strength to hold good posture, you're bound to fail. And nobody likes to fail, and it's degrading, and it makes you feel like you can't get it, right? I've heard people tell me this all the time. Whenever you're using muscular strength, those muscles are going to eventually weaken over time or fatigue, and that's going to cause other pain and strain patterns, and before you know it, you're going to be back into your kind of collapsed posture that most people are in. So instead, I'm going to offer you a different model for good posture. The model that I suggest is that we think about our body supported by our bones, our skeletal system, because gravity is constantly pulling our body down. What we want to do is actually move the opposite direction, stand taller without using a lot of muscular strength to do it. And the best way to do that is to make sure that our bones, the structure, is holding up the musculature. This allows your muscles and your nervous system to relax, and that means you can sustain it for a long period of time. The other thing is, if I'm pulling my shoulders back and down, I'm actually compressing my back, my spine more. That leads to more degeneration. Yet when I'm standing tall and pushing away from the earth and lifting everything up, that actually creates more space and decompresses my back, decompresses my spine, and allows things to fall into a natural alignment without using muscular strength. So this is where I'm coming from. Now I'm going to show you a few different ways to get there. I'm going to show you some real key points that you have to be aware of in order to have that good posture. And it does take practice. Now, first of all, just to practice, I would suggest that you have your feet shoulder width apart and your knees slightly bent. From that position, the first thing we're going to focus on is the rib cage. I want you to think about your rib cage like a big cylinder that you're trying to lift up toward the ceiling. Not with a big inhale or anything like that, but just a slight lift, so that you're not using muscular contraction, you're just standing a little taller. And you can imagine there's a string attached to the top of your head that's helping to pull all of this up. Now remember, your rib cage can actually hinge forward, swing forward and back, but we don't want that. We just want it to lift straight up, just slightly. Once you've done that, what you're gonna find is that your shoulders will naturally go back to where they're supposed to, and your head will go back to where it's supposed to, instead of being sticking forward like most people when they're working, especially at a desk job. The other thing you'll find is you're opening up your rib cage as you lift this up, so you'll be able to get more oxygen in your system. It's very detoxifying, it's very healthy for your body. And most importantly, actually, in some ways, is that you're decompressing your spine when you do this. When you stand tall, you decompress your spine, which means that your discs get a chance to not have that constant gravity pushing on them, but instead they can expand and they can be more full, and it tends to open up the spine. You get more nutrients and oxygen and other things in there that help to keep your spine from degenerating. So this will keep you healthy longer. So that's just with lifting the rib cage up. Now the next part is pulling the belly button in just slightly toward your spine. Now this is a slight movement, it's not a big movement, and what I want you to watch out for is the tendency to want to rock forward and lose that elevated rib cage when you pull the belly button in. Keep the rib cage up, pull the belly button in. When you pull that in, it activates the deep core muscles that support your low back and make it stronger, so you're less apt to have injuries and other things like that over time. Now the last part is going from a position where most people tend to tuck their butt underneath like this, and instead we're going to get the butt back, the hips back, so you can activate these big glute muscles. These big glute muscles are extremely important because they're the strongest muscles in our body, and they help us not only stand upright, but they support the low back and they support the sacroiliac joint, where a lot of people tend to have a lot of problems. So in order to do this last part, I showed you the first two. Lift the rib cage up, pull the belly button in. Now, in order to do the last part, I'm going to have you put one finger right here on your belly button, the other one on your sternum. And the reason for that is that when you go to shift your hips back, as if you're sticking your butt out, there's a tendency to arch your back. I want to make sure you're not going to push your belly forward or your sternum forward, but you're just shifting your hips back slightly till you start to feel these muscles engage a little bit, or you feel a little stretch through your low back. Once you've done that and you still have the rib cage up, you're standing tall, now you're in a good posture. You're in a posture that your body can sustain for a long period of time. And what you'll find is you'll be able to breathe a lot better. So what I would suggest is you practice this posture. You can practice it just standing in place for a couple minutes at a time, but especially practice it while you're walking, because when we walk, we use both hemispheres of our brain, which means that if you can do this while walking, you'll integrate it into your nervous system much better. Your body will be able to come back to it much better. If you want to add one other exercise, I would suggest learning to expand your rib cage even more, because that'll further open up your breathing and decompress your back. So in order to do that, you get in your correct posture, you put your hands on your side like this, you're going to breathe into your ribs as if you're pushing your hands outward. So you take a deep breath, and you do that for about 1 minute to 3 minutes. What you'll find is that, again, you'll feel taller, your rib cage will open and stretch more, and that low back and mid back will start to really decompress. So go ahead, give these a try, and I wish you the best of health.